We have so much to be proud of in Britain, but one of the problems in our society is that we have generations of young people
Today I want to talk about
who don't
the
have the
Conservatives
opportunities they
wanting to
deserve.
bring back national compulsory service. It's very strange what you're doing, because from what I'm reading, it seems as if children need to have this compulsory service to give something back to the society we live in. As in, they have a duty to give back to us something. Who are us? Us are the people that are paying for the children's school fees. Us are the people that are paying for the roads. Us are the taxpayers. Us are the people that think that the children should do something for the world that we live in, having done nothing ourselves. And I want to bring this idea that we as the elder generation should be looking after the younger generation. We should be making sure they eat properly, they have health, they have a good education, they've got housing. We should make sure that they are healthy in mind, body and soul. And they're not. The children are sick in mind, body and soul. The killings are up, the abuse is up, the family problems are up, the drug taking is up, the material on the internet they shouldn't be looking at is up. In fact, we've done a very bad duty. We've acted very badly defending the young people. Now, that might be down to technology, it might be out of our hands, it might be to do with the new revolutions, electronical and quantum revolutions coming in to our world. But on the other hand, for the ills and the problems of society, why is sending children to the national service going to complete this thing? And this national service is sort of like, well, we don't need to send them to the army, we can send them to go and help, or the NHS, or clean the streets, or go and do something. Well, if you think that children should give the state and society something, then obviously the children should have received something. So what have they received? They've received an education, which isn't going to do them a lot of good, which confuses them, which a lot of them don't like, which a lot of them find boring. We then tell them to go to university, that they have to go. We then put them in debt. We then give them degrees that don't mean anything, and they think that they know something and they don't. When they get the degrees, they can't find a job. Then when they need a house, they're in a trap. They're slaved into a system where they have to pay rent. They've got to live in their parents' houses. The types of jobs that we've got for them aren't the best in the world. Now, well, when I say not the best in the world, what I mean is that health-wise, a lot of people come to England because England is the West and it offers more than other countries. But what it's offering is not something which is healthy to the mind and the body and the soul. And we need to change. The whole world needs to change. The whole consciousness of the world needs to change. The way we deal with plastics, with animals, the way we deal with people, the way we deal with our countryside, the way we deal with our plants, our water, the atmosphere, pollution. We need to deal with everything. But I find it quite antagonistic that we think the solution to the problem is sending children to go and do something which helps the society. We have to give the children something first. If the children are growing up not wanting to help society, then something is obviously very wrong. And we need to induce into the children that we have helped them, and we need to back it up with proof how we've helped them. Not just tell them that they've got to do it because we feel that they owe us something. Those children are going to be paying our pensions just as we pay the other people's pensions that are in the pensions at the moment, like some giant Ponzi scheme. And each year the pensions get little and less and less. And there'll got to be a time where there'll be a generation that pays pensions and they don't get the pensions that they feel that they deserve, because there won't be enough workforce. The country, England, is it England anymore anyway? And so there's a woman called Katharine Birbalsingh. I like her. I do like her. I disagree with her a lot, but I do like her. Not one of my French friends in the day did their stint in the army. All did volunteer work. All were better people for it. But when you say better people, what do you mean better people? You mean better at being in the system. You mean better at succumbing to the system, better at appeasing the system, better at doing what the system wants, better at playing good citizen. I mean, if you go into corporate France and you start making lots of money, is that good? If you're taking it away from other countries, if you're a conquistador and you go to another country and you bring back lots of gold for the king and the queen that put it into their society and you build lots of churches, are you surely not a good and better person for it? When we say that we are good citizens, what exactly do we mean that we are good citizens? What is the idea of a good citizen? If you go to the park, it's full of rubbish. If you go to Japan, they clean up all the rubbish. In fact, the Japanese were given best people coming to a football match because they cleaned up all the rubbish and everyone else's rubbish as they left. In Japan, they don't have exams for very young children either. In the education system we have, it's all about exams. It's about memory. It's about how much you can hold in your brain. It's if you can recall and argue what the system wants you to argue. And then we grow up and we create the society we live in, and we have lots of problems in the society. We've got children with depression, children on drugs. We've got division in our societies. We're fighting a lot, and we call it multicultural. White people aren't producing enough, so you need to have other people coming in to produce for the white people. It changes the culture, and there are all sorts of problems, and the young people are very upset and they're angry. And then on top of that, you say, well, you have to appreciate the society, therefore you have to go and help, you have to go and do this, that and the other.
We have so much to be proud of in Britain, but one of the problems in our society is that we have generations of young people who don't have the opportunities they deserve. Britain today faces a future that is more dangerous and more divided. There's no doubt our democratic values are under threat. That is why we will introduce a bold new model of national service for 18-year-olds, to be spent either in a competitive full-time military commission over 12 months, or with 1 weekend per month volunteering in roles within the community, like delivering prescriptions and food to infirm people, or in search and rescue. Young people will gain valuable skills, make our country more secure, and build a stronger national culture.
Well, why are you waiting for people to do that after school? Why don't you do it in school? Why don't you teach people to handle a gun in school so that they can defend the country if need be? Why don't you teach them how to drive in school? Why don't you teach them how to cook in school? Why don't you teach them about the plants and nature around them? Why don't you offer children jobs in school? So that they see the point of their education. Is Shakespeare really relevant anymore? I went to a very good school, never used Shakespeare. The only reason I see people using Shakespeare is to look good at dinner parties. I have friends that love Shakespeare, but they're very particular people, the same type of particular people that love maths and physics. The type of education that we're offering children is not helping our society, and it's not helping the children. Shakespeare's for some children, physics is for other. But you can't give physics and Shakespeare to all children and hope that they're going to be happy, because they're not. You can't ask the children to support the society when they feel that the society has left them down. When you've got children which are killing each other on the streets, beating each other, taking drugs, you think that you're going to sort that out by making people do voluntary service. No, start in school. Bring back boxing to school. Bring back judo to school. Bring back archery to school. Bring back yoga, meditation. Try to get the students to actually become more conscious, because, Katharine, the way that you become a better citizen is through consciousness. It's not through money, and it's not through technology. It says here again, for many years France had compulsory 12-month army service or 18 months voluntary work. My friends did it, they aren't traumatized. Why on earth are we horrified at kids giving back to society? Sunak may be awful, but this isn't a bad idea. Well, the people that I know that went into military service in France, they just smoked cigarettes and drank and couldn't wait to get out and couldn't be bothered. And it was the men that went in, and it wasn't the women. So, you know, are we going to put women in? I mean, how about the diversity here as well? They aren't traumatized. Well, no, they aren't traumatized, but a lot felt they wasted their time. They felt that they were held back in society a little bit. Why on earth are we horrified at kids giving back to society? Well, what are we giving kids? This expectation that kids have to give us something, they have to give us our pension. It's us that have to protect the children. In the Bible, there's the fifth commandment. The fifth commandment says children must obey the mother and the father. But what it's left out is that the mother and the father have to be in line with consciousness. They have to be in line with God. Because it's the parents that act as God for the children. It's that they become the psychopomp. They become the intermediary, because a child can't understand God. It can't understand consciousness. So the adult must be in line with consciousness or God. And then it teaches the child those things until the child becomes of age that it doesn't need its parents and it can go to God on its own terms. But if you look at society at the moment, society is highly immoral. It doesn't have values anymore. In the past, if you look in the past, neighbours helped neighbours. People didn't lock car doors. It's not a romantic idea of when I was young, things were better. Crime was down. If you look at the countryside, people left doors open. I had friends that lived in Uxbridge in London, and they left their doors open. And that was in the 1992. That doesn't exist anymore. Kids get bullied on buses, knives, people are being stabbed. So where is this society? And this has happened in France as well. And you had the Gilets jaunes in France. A lot of those people would have done that mandatory service. And look at all the problems that they've had. France has got huge problems coming up in the next 10, 20 years. Kids in Japan have to clean their schools. Yeah, but they don't do exams either. They also have a different culture, a different respect. They eat healthier foods. So what you're doing is you're nitpicking little things that are better in other countries without giving the context behind it. Why is charity work for young people bad? It's not. But a young person shouldn't be forced to do charity work. A young person should want to do charity work because they've got a heart, because they've got a soul, because they want to help other people. And the other question is, well, why in a first world country have we got charity? And I'll tell you why. It's because we sent people to Iraq. We've got soldiers that got PTSD that are on the streets and they're homeless. Number one, we shouldn't have gone to Iraq. Number two, the Prime Minister shouldn't have lied to us. Number three, we haven't achieved anything. Number four, we've got lots of terrorism now in our country. So the charity work is becoming, it has happened in some ways because of the bad decisions that the adults have done. So why are the children doing charity work for bad decisions adults have done? We've got a lot of immigrants in the country. That there's a lot of charity work there. There's people that can't get jobs because of immigrants that are coming in. There are a lot of charity things that adults should have sorted out. So why are the children doing the charity work? I'm not against charity work, but I'm just trying to prove a point that I think you have to come to charity because you want to do it. Because it's like monks. When the monks go into the monastery, when they're forced to teach or they're forced to become teachers for students and they don't want to do it, that you end up having abuse. If you're coming to these things like charity or hope or kindness or love or help, it has to be done from the heart. You can't get a government to force people to do it. If you want to open up the horizon of a child and you want the child to think in a different way, you've got to give it different experiences. You can do that by treating the child like an adult and making it do adult things. Go and teach a child how to shoot a gun. Because what they're saying is that, we don't have to send children to the army to do voluntary work. Well, maybe the children don't want to march up and down in uniform. Maybe they want to drive a tank. Maybe they want to drive a jeep. Maybe they want to learn how a gun works. Maybe they want to go and do something interesting that might help them. Mechanics for tanks. Why don't we go and teach them something like that? We do want children to be good people, but good people doesn't reside in the fact of forcing people to go and do charity work. What the hell is wrong with everyone? Well, that's a good question. We will try. Okay, since when did we become such selfish dicks that the idea of getting kids to give back to society is abhorrent? The way that we treat children is abhorrent. The way that we educate children is abhorrent. The way that we allow foods that should be banned onto their plates is abhorrent. The way that we tell them if they get a degree, they'll get a job, and they get debt is abhorrent. The way that we can't give them houses, but we give other people that have just arrived into the country houses is abhorrent. And the young children see it, and the young children don't have faith in the adults or the political system. That's why.